Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America. Great to have you with us on the program today. Back with us, our guest on today's show, Jonathan Paull. He's a director at York County Physiotherapy and Sports Injuries Clinic in Newmarket, Ontario. Working for the clinic for more than 15 years, Jonathan has also served as its clinic fitness trainer and medical exercise specialist. Jonathan is also the inventor of the innovative Cat Post 2000, a complete stretching, strengthening, and assertive assistive exercise station. He has co-authored core exercises and training manual with the clinic's senior physiotherapist and is now author of his first book, Structurally Sound, Renovating the Middle-Aged Body. He's been with us on the program before. Great response. We're having Jonathan back in the program. Jonathan, welcome back to the program. Help us through this period here. The weather's getting nice. We want to get outdoors. We want to do it sensibly. Welcome back to the program. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me back.
You know, we talked about this last time. You've sort of used your facility there as a lab for the last 15 or so years. You've learned a lot in people coming to you. What are some of the common mistakes that we make after we hit middle-aged and beyond and try to get back and taking care of our bodies? What are some of the things we do wrong that bring you to people like you, bring us to people like you?
Well, I think the biggest problem with most people, and I'm not just talking about middle age, is everyone's very impulsive, and you look at technology and all that stuff. Everyone wants it here and they want it now. So when people decide that they need to make a health change for the better, they want it done in a matter of weeks, and they don't actually want to put in sort of the long-term commitment. So they look for the quick fix type deal. And unfortunately, if you go and you look at the fitness industry, they thrive on people who want to sort of take that route. And unfortunately, when it comes to fitness and doing it properly and doing it safely, there's a lot of important steps that need to be taken. And unfortunately, if you just rely on what you read in a magazine or what comes with a new piece of equipment, a lot of the necessary steps are not even documented. And that's where people get themselves into trouble. And that's why I'm a big believer is that you don't try to do it alone. You need to surround yourself with those who do know. And that's really what happens is people that come to us, they've injured themselves. They're now surrounded by a network of people who know the necessary steps. And from there, they realize, wow, there was a lot of things that I didn't do correctly, or I just didn't even know at all.
The book is called Structurally Sound, Renovating the Middle-Aged Body. Our guest on the program is Jonathan Paull. Paull is Paull. His website is jonathanpaull.com. Books available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Information by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And I'd like to talk about that because it is something that is overlooked, I know, by many people that you talk about in the book, and that's the support group and how important that is. And you talk about the role of healthcare professionals, and so often we're involved in this sort of on our own. We're not really looking to other people for outside help, and you're a big advocate of using healthcare professionals. Talk about that, the role they play, and how we can actually incorporate them in our exercise regimen.
Well, I mean, if I kind of go back to using the house of the analogy, if you're wanting to build this beautiful custom home, there's a lot of things that you have to do before you even get that shovel in the ground to fork over the first ground of turf. So when I look at people who want to start a fitness industry, and it's not even just for people who have started, it's people that have maybe come back after a period of time, and it's even geared to people who are active right now, because there's a lot of sort of hidden secrets within the body that don't come to the forefront until you do something different or you place a lot of demands on the body. So for example, we talk about the going to see your doctor or your GP, and that would be like going to the bank for a loan. Your doctor is basically there to do a physical. He's going to check your heart rate, blood pressure, cholesterol, all these things that unless they're tested, you wouldn't even realize whether you're on the page or not. And it's a very important stage because if you all of a sudden, take up a new activity and there's a lot of demand on the body, you know what? You may not make it to the finish line. And that's why, unfortunately, when you buy new pieces of equipment or you get a fitness video, that's the first thing that comes up. Go see your doctor because death can arise from this. And so really, that's the first stage. The next one is the physical therapist, who I sort of compare as the architect of your body. And people look at me and they go, well, don't you go and see them when you're injured? No, they're also preventative care. So I always instruct people, go see a physical therapist and ask for a fitness assessment.
So that's interesting. And I want to go back and hit that again, because I would think the same thing. I'm not going to need the therapist until I have a problem. And then I'm going and it's like, okay, what did I do and how can I bounce back from this? You're saying use it as sort of a preventative measure.
Well, exactly, because what will happen is you're going to go and see your physical therapist, and you're going to say, listen, you know what, I want to go to the gym, or I want to start running, or I want to take up this new activity. And what they'll do is they'll do what is basically a biomechanical. So they'll look for, muscle imbalances, core stability, all these sort of stabilizer muscles. If you're running, they might want to take a look at the shoes that you're going to use to make sure you have proper foot mechanics. So the idea is to catch all this stuff prior to when you take up the activity and injuring yourself, and then come in to see the physical therapist. So my rationale is, why injure yourself, then learn what you should have done when you could turn it around and basically find out all these weaknesses that you may have, strengthen them, get your body up to par, and then start your activity.
How many people in the book, by the way, Structurally Sound, Renovating the Middle-Aged Body, Jonathan Paull, our guest on the program. Paull is Paull. His website, jonathanpaull.com. Books at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, at Jonathan's website. Information at our website as well, thisweekinamerica.us. How many people do you see that come to you that really were not properly prepared to start an exercise program?
Well, I tell you, it's sort of, you have two sides. We have the ones who come and see us because they've injured themselves taking on new activity. And then we have ones who are very, very active, who I will see a little bit separately from the clinic, who come to me because they've plateaued, or they just seem to be stuck in a rut. And they both have the same sort of situation. An athlete who sort of plateaus, sometimes it's that weak link within their muscular system, or their flexibility or proprioceptive skills. It's that weak link that's holding them back. Whereas with someone who's just started, it's that weak link that actually created the injury. So for me personally, I see a lot, and really it just becomes a broken record. And that's why I've decided to go from being at the end of the line to the front of the line, because you know what, you're going to come and see me one way or another.
And you might as well do it at the beginning, so when we see you, we're not in pain at the same time.
Well, the other thing too is that, and this is another aspect, is that when you're dealing with middle-aged people, a high percentage of them have already had an injury in the past. And when you deal with people who've had past injuries, whether it's low back or shoulder or whatever, it does change the way how you train. So you can't say, oh, I've always had sort of back problems here or there over the years. Now I'm going to go to the gym and lift heavy weights. It's a recipe for disaster. So, you want to train people who are healthy and who are fit. You want to train people who are coming back after taking time off. But the injured people, or people who've had a history of an injury, they're a special group on their own.
How important is it for us to realize our body does change, especially as we get older? I mean, do you deal with people and say, dude, you're not 35 anymore. You can't do it this way anymore?
Well, I think I deal with them a lot, and part of the problem that I see, especially with some of the people who get into the sort of the group classes, I can think of a few people on the top of my head where they are in their mid-50s. And they join like a Zumba class, or these high intensity stuff, and they're competing with women in their 20s or
Yes.
early 30s. And we've always had this sort of inner nature, this thing about trying to keep up with everything. You don't want to be sort of left behind or feel like the old one. So you do try to keep up, and you may look great at that time in the class, but a lot of times they pay the price down the road.
The book is Structurally Sound, Renovating the Middle-Aged Body. Jonathan Paull, with 2 L's, our guest on the program. His website is jonathanpaull.com. What the book isn't is a quick fix. And that's so important. And you've touched on that there are so many fad stories that we read and like, okay, this sounds like it's going to be fun and quick and I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to get toned a lot quicker. There really is no quick fix, is there?
Well, no, it's a lifetime commitment, but I mean, you have to look at it in a positive spin. I mean, a lot of times when people say, "Oh, geez, I don't have the time to do all this," and it's too big of a commitment. But really, it isn't. I mean, you don't have to go out and do like an hour or 2 hours all the time. It's all just a step by step. So you start gradually, and you just try to incorporate into your daily living, and that's why I put a lot of emphasis of making sure that you select an area, whether it's a gym or if it's a rec center or whatever. You have to make sure that it can fit into your daily living schedule. It's not too far out of the way or inconvenient or the hours are terrible. And so it's got to be just a gradual absorption of this new routine that you want to take. And really, once you've established that routine, it does get a lot easier and it just becomes natural, just like pretty much everything else that we do through life.
Structurally Sound, Renovating the Middle-Aged Body is the book, a systematic guide on how to reach fitness goals injury-free. Let's talk about fitness goals. How important is it to have goals?
Well, the goal is really, it's got to be there to motivate you to actually get up and get going. Now, the only thing that I always put a large stress on is to make sure that the goal is realistic. So if someone comes to me and they say, you know what, I haven't done much the last few years. I've decided I've got to lose, maybe 20, 30 pounds. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to start running next week. To me, that's too huge of a step, and it's leading to failure. So a step-by-step program is very important. So I always say start with the first goal. So it might be just walking, maybe just short distances, work on maybe, 2 or 3 times a week. And then as time goes on, you gradually build up your distance or your time. Then from there, maybe we'll incorporate walk, run. So all these things have to be stages. And now the beauty of stages is that if they're realistic and attainable, when you get there, you feel great. So, the endorphins kick in and all of a sudden you have this sort of inner coach telling you, you know what, you can do this. What's my next goal now? So really your ultimate goal at the very end is going to be a lot more successful is if you take it step by step.
Well, you mentioned something interesting, listening to your body. How important is it to listen to your body, to have your body say, and we hear, you're doing a good job, keep it up, or your body saying, no, you're abusing me and don't do this anymore?
Well, I'm a big believer that when you train the body and you train the mind.
Yes.
Because they have to work together. And if they don't, then usually things just don't pan out. So the idea being is that I've got sort of 2 groups. You have the ones where, the body's telling or the mind's telling them, listen, this is too hard. You're lifting too heavy, and you don't listen because you want to compete against the younger crowd or just, you just think you have to. And then you have the other ones who don't push themselves at all. They do a little something. Oh, that was kind of hard, or I think I felt something. So they actually hold themselves back. So what I really, specify or put emphasis on when I train people, it's all about, you learn about yourself. You learn what you're able to do, what you're unable to do, what's too much, what's not too much. And it's a growing process physically, but also mentally.
You talk about that mind-body. In the book, Structurally Sound, Renovating the Middle-Aged Body, you talk about the fuse principle and how important that is, that everything must be achieved with mind-body unification. The book, Structurally Sound, Renovating the Middle-Aged Body, available all across the country. Our guest in the program is the author, Jonathan Paull, lifestyle fitness and rehabilitation coach. A couple minutes left in the program. Let's again talk about people hit middle age and they've really not done anything for a while, and they decide they're going to do something, and maybe they figure, okay, it's too late. Is it too late to get the lifestyle back where you actually are going to enjoy physical activity?
Well, all I do is I tell people, go pick up a Zoomer magazine or follow sort of the Zoomer population. I tell you, they're a very active bunch right now. And if you can watch them and see the things that they're doing and the goals that they want to reach, and then you come to me saying it's too late, then we're already heading down the wrong path. It's never too late as long as your goals are realistic. I mean, if you just want to make life better to enjoy your grandchildren, or to enjoy a golf game, or be able to go out on a bicycle and ride with friends, or your significant other, they're all attainable. It's just a matter of your program has to adapt with you and as you age. And like I said, the ones that I tend to have a more difficult time with are the ones that have been active all their life, because they still want to train and they still want to exercise and they still want to do things when they were in their younger years. And they have a number of them sort of have a difficult time sort of changing the program to adapt to who or where they are today.
Jonathan Paull, our guest on the program. When you see a picture of Jonathan, he's a medical exercise specialist, director of medical exercise at York County Physiotherapy Sports and Injuries Clinic in Newmarket, Ontario. See pictures, it's like, okay, this guy really knows what he's talking about. And you are in great shape, have been in great shape for a long time. Talk about the transformation process that you've had to go through over the years to adjust to a different body, to an aging body.
Well, the first thing I tell everyone that I'm very proud of is the fact that I've never injured myself training. And now I probably cursed myself, but that's one thing I tell everyone. And why is because I've always been realistic on my program, but I'm also very, very, I'm always concerned about technique and making sure that I do everything properly. So in my younger days, I mean, it was all about heavy weights, low repetitions and just trying to bulk up. And then as time went on, I realized that getting bigger than what I was actually not very good for my body. So what happened is I decided to drop my weight and leaned a little bit more to cardio. And it was all about just working on cardiovascular and toning. So I think the weight load dropped down, and it was more higher repetitions and just working on cardiovascular. As you get older too, flexibility all of a sudden becomes even more important. We were lucky enough when you're younger that you can get away with it, even though I don't encourage it. But as we get older, flexibility starts to change how we do things. And also because we get bigger and we get stronger and we tend to tighten up, all of a sudden we become more at risk of that type of injury. And then really, then you just really start incorporating your program geared more to how you live and how you want to live. So it's more of a daily life type program than it is towards a sport in per se.
A minute or so left in the program. When people say, I go by the old adage, no pain, no gain. I need, if I haven't felt like I've a little sore, then I haven't really pushed myself enough.
Well, it's true to a sense. I mean, the problem is how are you interpreting pain? For me, if at the end of the program the next day I feel just a slight tightness, letting me know that I worked out well, then that's good. But if I'm waking up the next day and I can hardly move at all, then you've gone too extreme.
That goes back to listening and once again the mind-body fusion there. So you've got that unification where you're hearing what the body says and you're interpreting it correctly. The book is Structurally Sound, Renovating the Middle-Aged Body. Our guest on the program has been Jonathan Paull. His website is jonathanpaull.com, and Paull is the proper spelling. The book's available information there. You go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on directly. Or you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and get information on the book. Jonathan, always a pleasure to have you on the program. We look forward to having you back. Some great information. Thank you for being with us once again.
Well, thanks for having me again.
It is our pleasure. Once again, the book is Structurally Sound, Renovating the Middle-Aged Body. Our guest on This Week in America, Jonathan Paull. Information, of course, at our website, thisweekinamerica.us.